So this fall we've been going through the prophetic books of the Old Testament, looking at one prophet each week. And today we come to the prophet Hosea. In the passage that Janet read, Hosea describes a kind of wayward child, a child who strays from their parent. But the parent is faithful and just loves that child always, will always love that child no matter what. In the passage, the child represents a whole nation who turns away from God, the God who made them, created them, taught them how to walk, how to live. God is that parent who loves the child even when they turn away. So that's the image, the metaphor that Hosea gives us. The prophet's job is to call the people to turn back to God, to turn back to their relationship with God of mutual love, of mutual trust. So Hosea is calling that child back to its parent, to turn back to God. But reading it, what Hosea highlights for me is the reality that in relationships, there aren't guarantees. In relationships, whether they're between parents and children, or between spouses, or siblings, or friends, there aren't guarantees that things will go as we intend, or as we expect, or as we desire. That can be unsettling, right? So what are we to do? When I was in seminary, I went to chapel one day in late October when the leaves were bright and the air was crisp, maybe a day kind of like today. But it was a day when I was worried and distracted, and there was a lot on my mind and my heart. I went because I needed a way to pass some time. And what the preacher said that day was something that has stayed with me, something that spoke to my soul. In his message, the seminary's president, Dr. Barnes, described a couple that he had been planning to marry. And what he would do is he'd offer 4 sessions of premarital counseling. The first 3 focus on the stuff, like the tough stuff, talking about expectations of marriage and family dynamics, money, relationships to in-laws and other family members. And then by the time they get to the 4th session, they'd plan the actual ceremony, something that they'd been waiting for. And so that tended that the 4th session would be a lighter one, more fun, something that they'd waited a while to get to. Well, for this particular couple, they made it to that 4th session. They were planning the details of the ceremony when the man in the couple started to seem a little bit off. Dr. Barnes followed it, decided to point it out. The man got bothered looking, and until he admitted, I guess I'm feeling scared. His fiancée, of course, got visibly worried, like she feared that maybe he would say he didn't want to do this. And he quickly turned to reassure her. He said, no, I'm sure about you. It's just that because I'm so sure about you, I'm scared too. I'm scared of losing you, of losing this. Dr. Barnes could see from his face that he was probably hoping that his pastor would say something to comfort him, something to assure them that they're committed to each other, that they have a special love, that they're young and they have many years ahead of them and they don't need to worry about these things right now. But Dr. Barnes had seen enough relationships struggle, and he'd buried enough young people to feel a sense of responsibility not to offer false comfort. Instead, what he told them was this. He told them every marriage ends. The best case scenario is that you have 50, 60 some years together, wonderful years. And then one of you has to say goodbye to the other. Every marriage ends. But also, he said, every marriage is a gift. Every day you can wake up next to her and be excited for the day that's ahead. Every day you can wake up knowing that you get to spend this day with someone who loves you It makes you feel alive. I can't, and I shouldn't try to take away your fear of losing her. But I encourage you to approach your marriage with your hands open, to thank God for each moment, each gift that your relationship brings, and to savor them. It could be that I would have remembered this message anyway, but part of why it has been ironed on my mind is because I heard it on a particular day. Like I said, it was a cool, colorful October. The air smelled like leaves. I was a couple of months pregnant, but I was having some symptoms that made me fear that maybe the pregnancy wouldn't last. I had a doctor's appointment that afternoon. I was pretty worried. I went to chapel just needing a place to kind of contain myself until I got to that appointment. And the message that I heard in that space was to hold that baby with open hands, because that's all I could do. As I sat there later in the doctor's office, and as we saw a little heartbeat flutter on the screen, I was filled with relief, but also with a poignant awareness that the posture to aim for with this child would always be one of open hands all along the way. There would be no guarantee at any point in pregnancy, no guarantee once she was born into the world. The posture to take on would be open hands to receive the gift of each moment as she slept in my arms or kept me up all night. The gift of each moment when she made me laugh or made me cry. The gift of each moment when she ran to me for comfort or when she ran away the other way and I had to chase after her. There's no guarantee at any point in her life that she will make the choices I want her to make or that we'll have the relationship that I want us to have with each other. But each moment of being her mother is a gift to receive. Open hands. Hosea is very aware that relationships don't come with guarantees. That's where this posture of open hands comes in. That's where faith comes in. Faith is making the choice to trust in the face of uncertainty, the choice to trust in the face of all that we don't and can't know, the choice to open our hands. We can't prove that God exists. That would be knowledge, not faith. But we can choose to trust God in all that we don't know, all that we can't figure out. We can't be sure that the people who matter most to us will do and be the things that we'd like, or the things we've agreed to. But we can choose to trust people in the face of uncertainty. We can't control what life brings, but we can choose to trust the inner resources that God gives us to handle those things with as much grace as we can, always imperfectly, never getting rid of the hurt, doing our best through it, because we can hold each other too. Faith is a choice to trust in the face of uncertainty, in the face of all that we don't know. It's a choice to open our hands. And Hosea proclaims that that's what God does for us. Hosea is clear that even when we struggle to have faith, God is faithful. That God chooses us again and again, the way that a parent chooses a child again and again. God is always offering to lead us with those bands of human kindness, those cords of love that Hosea writes about, like a parent lifting us up to their cheek. Faith is a choice to trust in the face of all that we don't know, to trust our divine parent, to trust other people, to trust that God offers inner and outer resources as we need them, to trust that we can open our hands because God, our parent, is also reaching down to us to lift us up. So this All Saints' Day, what is it that God is inviting you to hold with open hands? What is God inviting you to trust in the face of uncertainty or loss or fear?